friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. It is time to talk about all the books that I want to read in the month of July. For the last couple of months, I have been having a very small TBR and allowing myself lots of room to mood read. That is not the case today. We are going back to a regular full-on TBR. I have a huge stack of books to talk about with you today. Not all of them will be read during the month, but all of them are on my radar for summertime. And I'll talk about the different reasons they might not get read in the month of July. But I have a couple buddy reads here, some patron-focused group books here, a stack of summer books, and some Jane Austen July, and the Booktube Spin. I've got lots of things to talk about, so let's just jump right in. First of all, I give my patrons 3 books every month to pick from for the next month's book club book. So for July, I gave them 3 that kind of feel light and fun and summery. So I offered them Jane in Love, and People We Meet on Vacation, and Big Summer. And overwhelmingly, People We Meet on Vacation was chosen as my patron book club pick for the month of July. So this is by Emily Henry. It feels perfect for summer because it's about these 2 friends who used to take vacations together every year. I believe something happens that puts a wrench in their relationship, their friendship, and the girl is determined to have one last vacation with her friend to see if they can salvage their friendship, maybe make it something more. I'm not sure, but I did enjoy Beach Read from Emily Henry, and I have high hopes that I'm going to enjoy this one as well. So this is going to be my patron book club book. I also noticed today that it is the Book Sisters book for July, which is Chloe and Bree and Sarah. I will link their Goodreads group or one of their channels or something down below if you're interested in joining their book club book as well. They do their live discussion on YouTube. I will be having a discussion on Patreon with my patrons who read this with me. So that is going to be priority number 1 for the month of July. I also ask my $8 patrons for recommendations every month, and I put all the recommendations into a cup and I choose one out. And for July, I picked Kim K's book, and that was How Not to Die Alone by Richard Roeper. She told me that this is kind of along the same lines as Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine. If I liked that one, I'll probably like this one. And I did. I loved Eleanor O, and I'm really excited to read this. This was actually gifted to me by Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand ages ago, and it's on my recommendations cart for the year. So I'm excited to read another one of the books that was recommended to me to read by you guys. I believe our main character in here is a man who works for the public health organization, and he tries to find next of kin when somebody dies. And he's slightly socially awkward in some way, I believe. And I don't really know much more than that, but I know that it's going to be kind of on the lighthearted side, even though it deals with a man who is very close to people and families who have lost a loved one. So I'm sure it's going to somehow handle grief a little bit, which I also really love to read about in books. I'm just really excited to read this one. So thank you, Kim, for that recommendation. I have 2 books on my radar for Jane Austen July. I have not read any of the Jane Austen novels in a few years. Well, I've reread 3 of them by listening to audiobooks, but Persuasion was the last one I read, and I believe that was in 2019. I don't think I've read any in the last year and a half. So I'm grabbing Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I love these editions. This is the Vintage Classics edition. It has really cool French flaps and end papers, and I haven't read Northanger Abbey in a really long time. So I will somehow in July try to listen to the audiobook of this one. I will try to find the announcement for Jane Austen July because I believe there are specific prompts and everything like that. And I think read one of her original works is one of the prompts. I'm not specifically following any prompts. I just know that it's a thing, Jane Austen July. So I have 2 books, so we'll see. The other one is not an original work, obviously. It is in Jane inspired book. This is Jane in Love by Rachel Givney. And this one, Jane Austen herself somehow finds a portal and travels to modern day England, London, or Bath, excuse me. And so we're in Bath in 1803 and then Bath in present day. So we have 2 different timelines. Jane is famous for being a spinster or single her whole life. And in this story, when she comes to Bath in the present day, she does find love. So I feel like this is just going to be a fun, lighthearted read. I gave it to my patrons as one of the options. They didn't pick it, but I do still want to read it. So I'm going to be reading this one in July, hopefully. Next, let's talk about my buddy reads, because these ones are also kind of priorities for the month, even more so than the Jane Austen July books. These buddy reads are high priority for me. So I have a series here. I am in the middle of Siege and Storm. I'm about halfway through. I'm reading this series with Amanda from The Curly Reader, Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand, and Lindsay from Lindsay's Little Library. So I will finish Siege and Storm near the beginning of July and then dive right into Ruin and Rising. And I'm so excited because Shadow and Bone and Siege and Storm are rereads for me. I have read them before, but Ruin and Rising I never did read. So I'm really looking forward to continuing on and finishing this series. This takes place in the Grishaverse. These are books 2 and 3. So I can't tell you too much about them, but I'm really looking forward to continuing Alina's story. Another buddy read that I have is with Becca from Hicks Picks Books. She is starting a read-along group on Goodreads. I don't think at this point she's planning on something every month. It may turn into that, but I know for July, she's going to be reading The Masterpiece by Francine Rivers. And when she showed it in a video, she had a lot of people say that they wanted to read it with her. And I am one of them who would love to read this book. I haven't read any Francine Rivers new stuff in a really long time. I did at the beginning of this year, end of last year, reread the Mark of the Lion trilogy. So I'm just really excited to dive into this, which I believe is her newest. This one was published in 2018, so she doesn't, I believe, have anything newer than this one, but I'm just really excited to get to this one and read it with Becca and her crew over on that Goodreads group, which I will link down below. With a couple of my patrons, I'm going to be reading The Girl with the Louding Voice by Abi Dare. I'm really excited to read this. I've heard so much praise for this. I'm actually going to try to find this on audio because a lot of this is written in a specific dialect, which I think will be very cool to hear rather than try to read and figure it out on my own. But in this one, we follow Aduni, who is a 14-year-old Nigerian girl. And what she really wants in life is an education, but I believe she is forced to get she's forced to get married to an older man. So we follow Aduni and her desire for education and how that plays out in her life and her finding her voice. And I've just heard so much praise for this book. So I'm really excited to read this with Kim and Stephanie in my who are some of my patrons. So yay for finally getting to that one. And the last buddy read that I have is not going to be completed in July, but we are starting in July. And that is the Les Mis read-along. This is by Victor Hugo. I have read this it was 1998 when I read this. And I know that this is a chunkamunga book. I will link some of the announcements and Discord and all the information about the Les Mis read along because I know some of you were interested in possibly picking this up as well. This is going to last through July and August and I believe half of September. So it's not going to be a rush through. From what I hear, one of the hosts actually divided it up into what you need to read daily to stay on track. But they're going to do some live shows. I know Victoria from A Musical Bookworm and Naomi from Naomi's Bookshelves, and I believe Christy from Christy Lewis, Dostoevsky in Space. And I believe there's 1 or 2 other hosts as well who are going to be hosting this read along. And I'm really excited to read it with other people and participate in the live shows and just dive back into this book that I love. I love the story of Jean Valjean. I don't love the French Revolution sections, and it's possible I will skim through some of that, but I will probably be doing a combination of reading and listening this time around. So I'm really excited to read Les Mis. Yay! Let's do the Booktube Spin. The Booktube Spin is kind of funny this time around because Rick McDonnell, who hosts the Booktube Spin, accidentally announced this round 3 a little bit early. It's not supposed to be announced until July, and then we would have August and September to read our books. So he announced it and did the spin early. And then when he did the spin, he got one of his shorter books for the first spin. And he's like, since we have 3 months, why don't I go ahead and spin again? And he ended up getting a book that he didn't really want to read. So I am pulling both of the books that got chosen. So first he spun number 2, and for that, my number 2 was Transcendent Kingdom by Ya Jesse, and I'm so excited about this one as well. It's relatively short. In this one, we follow Gifty, who's Ghanaian. Ghanaian? Did I say that right? She's from Ghana. She's a PhD student at Stanford, and I believe this is really gonna dive into science and faith, and she really, I don't know if she struggles between those two things, but I think it's just done really well from what I hear. And it's a big subject to tackle in such a short book, but I am really looking forward to this. I loved Homegoing by Ya Jessie, and I'm just very excited to read another book by her. So this was number 2, and then he spun number 20, which at the end of my list, I had some series that I wanted to start, and number 20 was a bit of a chunker, but it's a middle grade series, The Keeper of Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. I'm really excited to read this. This is a series that I wanted to start this year, and now I have the perfect excuse because it was a Booktube Spin book. So I do have technically July, August, and September for these 2 books. So they're going out here on my July TBR, but you may see them again on my August TBR or September or both. I don't know, but they're going out here on the TBR because they did get picked and I want to keep them on my radar. And I'm very excited for both of them. I'm super pleased with the numbers that got chosen for round 3 of the Booktube Spin. The last book that's technically going on my TBR is my last book. I believe it's my last book from my 5-star predictions that I did way back last October or November. Oh my word, I cannot believe that I haven't yet read all 5 of them. But the last one is What the Wind Knows by Amy Harmon. And I have read already 2 other Amy Harmon books, but unfortunately I've not yet read the one that was a 5-star prediction. I loved both of the other books by her, and I'm really excited to read this one. And I'm so excited as well because it's so different from the other 2. I believe this one is set in Ireland and involves time travel. The other ones I read, one of them was a World War II set in Italy, and one of them was on the Oregon Trail. So I love that she writes such different time periods. They're all historical in some respect, but they're all quite different, which I think is so remarkable. I know some authors kind of might find their niche and try to write within that area or topic or whatever, but Amy Harmon definitely branches out and tries different things. And I'm so excited to read What the Wind Knows by her. And it's a 5-star prediction. So I'm crossing my fingers and I'm really hoping that it ends up being a 5-star read, but I need to get these done. So I really would like to finish this up early in the month so that I can do a wrap up of that last round of 5-star predictions, which I did say I wasn't going to wait so long to finish, and I did. Yikes. This last stack are not technically TBR, but I am putting them out here in this room that I walk past. This is kind of a hallway room, like in front of me on the other side of the camera. I think it's supposed to be a dining room. I've made it into almost like a little den, and it's the hallway between my kitchen, which is on that side, and bedroom, and the bathroom and living room, which is on that side. So I'm walking through here all the time. So these books are coming out here so that I see them. And these are all books that have the word summer or sun in them. And I talked about many of them in that summer shelf spotlight that I did. We have Big Summer by Jennifer Weiner, which is kind of a mystery contemporary mix. We have a historical fiction, Summer Wives by Beatrice Williams, which I believe takes place Cape Cod, maybe, or Nantucket, something like that. Caterpillar Summer by Gillian McDunn, which is a middle grade book about siblings. Summer at Meadowood, which is a high priority for me, by Amy Rebecca Tan, who wrote A Kind of Paradise that I loved. And this one takes place at a summer camp. A Thousand Splendid Suns, which so many of you really want me to read, by Khaled Hosseini, and I really want to read it as well. And then 100 Summers, another Beatrice Williams book set in New England. So I'm really excited about all these summer books, especially after making that video. So these are going to stay out here and on my radar. I'm going to try to find them on audio or just pick them up as I find room in my reading life. So those are not officially on my July TBR, but I'm really hoping to pick up some of them. So even without, oh my gosh, let me see if I can figure this out, how to put all these. Try to put these from biggest to smallest here so I can get them all. Oh my Lanta. Yikes. I've got them in a pile. Let's see if I can do this. So much for mood reading. Mood reading is now over. However, there's a good mix here of historical and classic and contemporary and international and lighthearted and heavy. I feel like there's a really good mix of type of book. So even with this TBR, I should be able to read according to my mood every now and then. So let's see, are they all going to get in if I move back? Yes, they're all there. I did it. That's my big old July TBR. They're all gonna go on that shelf behind me, but I'm not gonna try to lift them up backwards. That will hurt my back. Yay! I'm really excited. Let me set them back down on my leg. Oh. Ha! I'm excited for this TBR, to be honest, even though it's really big. I would love to hear from you. Have you read any of these? Are any of them on your radar for this month? Are you going to be participating in the Les Mis book or the Masterpiece or my Patreon book club book? Let me know. I would love to hear from you. What are you most excited to read in the month of July? That is it for today. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll be talking to you in another video very soon. Bye.